Have you ever looked at a cool new clothing brand and wondered, how do they actually make money? Well, today, we're going to demystify the whole thing. We're diving deep into the economics of business, but we're going to do it through a super relatable lens, a local fashion brand, right here in Patna.
So you've got the spark. The designs are amazing. You have a vision. But then what? That's the big question, right? How do you actually turn that creative idea into a real business that, pays the bills? It's that leap from being an artist to becoming an entrepreneur that we're going to unpack today.
All right, let's set the scene. Imagine a brand born and bred in Patna. They're about to launch a brand new festive collection. The clothes are stunning, the energy is high, but they're missing something. They're missing a solid economic game plan. Our mission? To build that playbook for them, step by step.
Okay, first things first. We all want to maximize profit. But before you can do that, you have to know what profit really is. And believe me, it's a lot more than just your sales minus what you paid for fabric. Getting this definition right is going to shape every single decision you make from here on out.
So let's get into it. You've got two main types of profit. First is gross profit. That's simply the money you make after you subtract the direct costs of making your product, the fabric, the thread, the labor. But the number you really care about, that's your net profit. That's what's left after you pay for everything else. We're talking rent, salaries, marketing, the whole shebang. That's your actual bottom line.
Now stick with me, because this next part is a total game changer. Most people only think about accounting profit. That's the money you literally spent. But the pros, they focus on economic profit. This includes something called implicit costs. Think of it this way. Say you're using your family's shop in Conquerbog for free. Great, no rent. But you're giving up the money you could have made by renting it out to someone else. That's an opportunity cost, and economic profit makes you face that reality.
And that's exactly why this is so critical. Economic profit is the ultimate stress test for your business. It tells you if your venture is truly sustainable. Are you just covering your bills, or are you actually creating more value than your next best alternative? It's a tough question, but it's the one that matters most.
So now we know what true profit is. The next question is, how do we get as much of it as possible? And that brings us to maybe the biggest decision any business has to make. How much stuff should we actually create? Make too little, and you're leaving cash on the table. Make too much, and you're just burning money. We've got to find that perfect sweet spot.
And here it is. This is the golden rule, the secret sauce, the whole key to the kingdom. Profit is at its absolute peak when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. MR equals MC. It looks so simple, right? But trust me, this little formula is the engine that drives basically every smart business on the planet.
Okay, so what on earth are marginal revenue and marginal cost? It's actually way simpler than it sounds. Marginal revenue is just the extra money you bring in by selling one more dress. And marginal cost? That's how much it cost you to make that one extra dress. The logic is crystal clear. As long as making one more dress brings in more money than it costs, you keep making them.
Let's make this super practical. You don't need an advanced degree to figure this out. It's basically a 4-step manager's checklist. First, know your costs for making one more item. Second, figure out how much you make from selling one more. Third, find the exact point where those two numbers meet. And bam, that tells you exactly how many units to produce and what price to charge. It's your roadmap to the money.
So we crunched the numbers for our fictional Patna Brands apparel unit out in Bihata. And what did we find? The magic number, their optimal quantity, is right around 305 units a day. That is the perfect sweet spot. If they make 304, they're missing out on profit. If they make 306, they're actually losing money on that last piece. It's that precise.
And check this out. Once you know your perfect quantity is 305 units, the market basically tells you what you have to charge. The optimal price works out to be about 576 rupees. See? This isn't guesswork. It's not just a vibe. It's a calculated, data-driven decision to get you the most profit.
But, of course, life isn't that simple. You're not selling just one thing at one price. You have a whole collection. So the MR equals MC formula gives you your anchor point, your foundation. But on top of that, you need a smart pricing strategy for all your different pieces. Let's look at a few options. For that really exclusive high-end designer jacket, you could try price skimming. Start high for the diehard fans. For your basic everyday kurtas, maybe you use penetration pricing. Go in low to grab a ton of customers fast. And then there's the classic cost plus. Just add a markup to your cost. It's easy, but it's super risky because it totally ignores what people are actually willing to pay.
Now here's a twist. What if making the most profit right now isn't your number one goal? I know, it sounds crazy, but sometimes businesses are playing the long game. Sometimes it's all about growth, or grabbing market share, or just making sure everyone knows your name. And that brings us to a really cool idea called Baumol's sales maximization model. The idea here is simple. Instead of maximizing profit, you try to maximize your total sales revenue, as long as you hit some minimum level of profit to stay afloat. Why would you do this? To become a major player, to build brand recognition, and to get more power with your suppliers.
You see this all the time. Think about a massive Diwali sale at a local store. Is their main goal to make the highest profit margin on every single item? Nope. The goal is to maximize sales, to get a flood of people through the door, and to plant their brand name in everyone's mind for the rest of the year. That is sales maximization in action.
All right, we've talked about what profit really is, how to figure out your perfect production level, and how to think about pricing. Now, let's put all these pieces together into one final actionable playbook for our patent of fashion brand. And here it is, your 7-step playbook. It all starts with knowing your costs, explicit and implicit. Then you analyze your demand, use that golden rule, MR equals MC, to set your quantity and choose the right pricing strategy. Then you sync up your advertising, launch, and, this is key, you review and repeat. It's not a one-time thing, it's a constant cycle of learning and improving.
And let's talk about advertising for a sec. It's not just about pretty pictures. In economic terms, a great ad campaign can actually increase how much people are willing to pay for your stuff. But here is the crucial warning. Your advertising and your production have to be perfectly in sync. Having an Instagram reel go viral is a disaster if you don't have the stock to meet the sudden demand.
Finally, let's quickly go over some common mistakes. Things like just blindly adding a markup without thinking about the customer, or going viral before you're ready, or completely ignoring those hidden opportunity costs. These are the traps that can sink a new brand. The fix for all of them? Be strategic, be data-driven, and be brutally honest about your numbers.
So there you have it. We've pulled back the curtain and looked at the real economic engine that powers a fashion brand, from defining profit to setting the perfect price. And you know what? These principles work whether you're in Patna or Paris. So the only real question left is, if your brand was launching tomorrow, what would your first move be?